When you drill it down to how many jobs you could sell or how many, projects you can manage, or if you're an owner, where's your time going? You need to be working on the business, making good business decisions. And now you don't want to pay, $35 for a roof measurement report and your guys are spending X amount in the field.
Hey everyone, I'm so excited to welcome you back to the Building Business podcast. We are bringing it back. We know we had a little bit of a hiatus. My name is Sancha and I'm excited to be your host for this episode today. We're going to be talking about a lot of things in relation to best business practices for what you can do to achieve success as a contractor. Before we get into it, a little bit about me. I come from a roofing company background. My first job out of high school was at a roofing company. There was a devastating hailstorm and I got brought in to help enter insurance claims into what was this teeny tiny little CRM, very old school. And we were getting about 75 claims a day and they just needed help getting them into the system. That kicked off a career in the space. I worked my way through creating estimates, work orders, a little bit of customer service, doing some organization for getting things delivered onto sites. And then I ended up as a production manager. About a decade later, I got into the construction tech space and now I'm here at JobNimbus, and this is why I care so much, because the tools that I didn't have access to back when I was working for that roofing company do exist now, and I get to be a part of helping contractors see their value, implement those systems, and have success in their business. So without further ado, today we are going to be talking a lot about how convenience is king in this industry. And while we're going to get into how me and our guests today feel about that word, how you can actually make things more convenient, but we're going to talk about optimization and how you can really go take your whole process and tidy it up so that you can shorten it, you can get paid faster, you can do more jobs, and I don't want to give it all away. So I'm just going to introduce our guest today. Actually, I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Okay,
welcome.
Yes. Hi, my name is Alena Wilson with Estimate Mastery, and what we do at Estimate Mastery is help contractors shorten the time that they're paid by the insurance company, help them get paid what they should, because there's a lot of intricacies to insurance types of work, and so we do that by using the software Xactimate, training you how to use it, but also the whole supplement process as a whole is what we do here at Estimate Mastery.
So thinking through, obviously there is the retail piece, but we also have the insurance piece. And I think there is a little bit of a misconception that even with a tool like JobNimbus or some of the other tech platforms out there, that they're specifically for retail and can only be used for retail. And I am of the opinion that we should debunk that. So I hope that we can do that together today. Okay. Let's talk about convenience for a minute. Okay. In the contractor space, is it convenient?
That thing that I, in my whole, 25 years of being adjacent to contracting, is anything convenient. No. And it's like we accept that as that's okay. Yes. But in 2025, that's not okay anymore. We have plenty of tools, plenty of tech, plenty of options that are available, and they're really not that hard to transition into now. 10 years ago, it was a little bit more difficult. You had to, do all this complicated setup, but now everything talks to each other. There's all kinds of ways to integrate different platforms together that could be a beautiful, seamless system that saves you hours. I like to say that busy does not equal productivity. And I feel like as business owners, or if you've been in the contracting space for a while, feeling that rush and that busy and, I'm working, 7 to 7 every day or whatever it is. Well, yeah, you're busy, but how much are you actually getting done?
Yes.
Now, you can work an actual 9 to 5 or even less if you set yourself up for success with the right tech stack and tools.
Okay. We'll pause for a second because tech stack, I feel like in general, that's becoming more of like a term that is understood. Mm-hmm. I think occasionally when I've hosted a webinar or, in conversation, it's like, what is a tech stack? It's essentially your stack of technology, the tools that you use together to build a system for your business. So even at JobNimbus, we have a tech stack We have our CRM for our customers. We have what we use for payments. We have these different pieces that come together so that we can run our business. And in the same way, a contractor can too. I will say, I agree in terms of that convenience piece. I'm just going to paint a picture and we're going to see if this resonates. And if it does, you should comment below, because I think, yes, so my experience was we would get a phone call and we would have someone call in and say, hey, I have an insurance claim. And you can correct me too, because a lot of my experience comes from Canada. So you can be like, oh, this would be different in terms of the American experience. Call in and say, hey, I have roof damage on my house. I've worked with my insurance company. I want to submit a claim, or they're going to submit a claim. We'd kind of have both. Yeah. And then I would take that and I would go, okay, click, clack on my keyboard and enter it into our database. Actually, I'd write it down first on paper in an intake form. And then that intake form would then be put into a CRM. As I said, I think it was QuickBase, like literally the most baseline CRM you could ever have. And then I would take that paper and I'd put it in a folder and I would walk it to a desk we had our inspection team, and I would say, hey, this needs to be inspected. We would also have the insurance details, the scope of work in there, etc. They would go out, do the inspection, come back with a camera with an SD card that we'd plug into the computer and pull the photos off of and make a folder. I'm trying to go through this whole workflow. It's been a while, many, many years. But then we would print off the photos, and then that folder would get taken to the estimators. And they would build the quote, and then from there in Word, and then that would get printed, put in the folder. And this folder would find its way through the filing cabinets and eventually find its way to the production manager, which is where I ended. And I would have a whiteboard with, sometimes it was lines, sometimes it was magnets, and it would be like a Gantt chart on a board, and I'd have the folders associated, and I'd call the homeowner and figure it out. Fax over a material order. Yep. This is going to age me a little bit, but I feel like still to this day, it's like a text sometimes to your supplier. Yeah. And then hopefully weather cooperated and the crew showed up and it would get done. And then you still had to submit for payment. That's a long process.
It is a long process.
How does that compare to your understanding?
Yeah, no,
actually, of the lack of convenience.
No, it's funny that you bring that up. I in my mind, like, because I have this in a slideshow format, where I'm like, remember when you had to go out and take the photos, print them out. Like, I know it totally resonates with me. And I talked to a contractor out of Wisconsin last week. They're actually still doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's terribly uncommon, to be completely honest. And no shame. It's what has worked. It's what has been done. And so we have this opportunity to keep it going.
Yeah, so, and that's okay, because this industry in particular, and especially if you're doing any insurance work, you'll know they are like dinosaurs. They're like Xactimate, like the core of it, no judgment, looks like it did when I started using it 15 years ago, like the core of it. When you get into the estimate items screen, fine, that's actually easier to, but you don't have to keep up with all these, like if you're doing Facebook ads or something, the algorithms, like you don't have to worry about that stuff in our industry, which is really cool. So, with that being said, if you can set yourself up for success by maybe just trying 1, 2, or 3 solutions to begin with, and then a lot of the times those solutions link together. There's ways to simply start with one thing and then add the next. And
it's progressive. And I think too, and we talk about this as well, and I think on different webinars that we've hosted, we've talked through this tech stack, and depending on your kind of company size, whether you have 1 to 2 sales reps, whether, you can kind of base it on your revenue, you can base it on like the number of people that are working for you, you can base it on number of jobs that you're doing. Again, like how many customers do you actually have to organize? Like if you have 20 customers a year and you're happy with that and you're happy with doing 20 roofs, then a spreadsheet, quite honestly, is probably adequate. That might be enough. So we kind of talk through that progression of what do you need, and we often talk about bookkeeping, like get your finances in order, like if there's one thing you do, but then like a sales tool or a process for selling that incorporates a piece of tech, and then a measurements piece, and then your CRM, and you can build it up. So we know JobNimbus obviously has the sales experience built into the CRM. You wouldn't necessarily need to utilize all of JobNimbus to use the estimating piece. You could start there and grow out. But yeah, would you agree?
Absolutely,
yes.
yes.
Okay, what are your thoughts?
But there's, when you talk about tech stack, when everything links together, it's such a beautiful thing. And just some of the basic things is like no longer relying on your sales reps to have all the pictures on their phone. They should be going up to a cloud or somewhere centralized. We live company cam, but there is Google Drive. Just by organizing really well in that'll help you if you're doing 20 jobs a year or whatever. As you scale and grow, though, your tech needs to scale and grow with you. So what I love about a solution like putting everything on the Drive or like the company cam is like you go to a birthday party and all you see is pictures of roofs. You're like, I swear, I have a kid. He's in here somewhere.
I promise.
It's just like these little things that we are used to being annoyed with don't have to exist.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Xactimate. You can actually import an Eagle View or a Hover now. And when you do that, you bring that into Xactimate. It'll auto-populate your, what are called variables on your line items. Basically, your measurements will auto-populate into 80% of your line items. So instead of taking 2 hours to sit down and write a roofing exterior estimate, you can cut it down to 15 minutes if you know what you're doing in Xactimate and use this streamline of tools. Yeah. So that's just a couple examples that come to mind that are easy changes. I always like to say, and we talked about this earlier, don't step over $1 to save a dime. It may sound expensive to order some of these reports or maybe pay monthly for an app or something like that. But what's your time worth? Like when you drill it down to how many jobs you could sell or how many, projects you can manage, or if you're an owner, where's your time going? You need to be working on the business, making good business decisions. And now you don't want to pay, $35 for a roof measurement report and your guys are spending X amount in the field doing that by hand or whatever your current solution is. I would just challenge you a little bit that there are ways to make investments in your business that aren't huge, but save everyone so much time and so much confusion with the communication. It solves for so many things.
And I think about that too in relation to both the contractor and the adjuster. When we think through like really practical things that can be done, like implemented, I think you're exactly right. Like it doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be an overhaul. You can start with like one small change, a solution, implement it, learn it, adjust your workflow to it, add the next one, do the same. But things that you can do for contractors and adjusters in this process. And I do think that having an estimate or a report that is adjuster ready, that is like, am I putting words in your mouth? Because I'll let you take it away.
I'm so excited. Yeah, that's what we actually, here at Estimate Mastery, we say we write adjuster-friendly estimates. Anyone can write a really great estimate, right? You can just put all your line items in there and you've got everything to a T, all your right measurements and everything. You submit it to the adjuster and they're like, yeah, I don't have to pay that. It's like, you did all this work. Now, so you can set yourself up for success in Xactimate by formatting it the right way, including the right information, not including other bits of information. A lot of contractors will just shove 150 photos at the end of a report. It's like, why? No human wants to look through 150 irrelevant photos. It's like how you call out, making the adjuster friendly estimate, calling out what they need to look at and what we don't need to talk about is huge.
Which then I think builds trust if you're trying to build that relationship with the adjuster and also the homeowner. Yeah. I think additionally too, where you think through like this information has been laid out beautifully, it is clear, there is an understanding of what is going to be done, what is not going to be done, what is covered, what is not. And to have that, I would say that to me when we talk about convenience is you're removing those holdups. You're removing the like hurdles and the bottlenecks by using tools like this, which then benefit obviously the contractor in terms of their time. I even think about AI. I think there's this conversation around like, oh, AI is going to replace all of us. But what if AI replaced the busy work or processes like this replace the busy work so that then the office manager could either have some, maybe, yeah, like you said, a 9 to 5, where at the end of the night, they can clock out at 5 and go home to their kids and aren't like putting them to bed. And then, I mean, for me, it's a top knot. I've got a lot of hair. So, and then going back to the laptop and kind of just like getting it done and not having that work-life balance. Like, what if we could use tools like this and have that quality of life? Or God forbid, take a vacation in the middle of this busy season. Like, wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah,
which is what we hope for. This is what we hope for this industry.
And that's what, most people, it's a weird time to be in this industry too, because some people are aging out.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of private equity is coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where do you want to go with your business in 5, 10, 15 years? What I've been told by private equity firms that I've spoken to is they really are interested in service-based businesses now due to AI not being able to perform that type of work. You're going to have a human look and say, that's damaged. Now, some of that's being automated.
Yep, but there's still a QA piece for sure.
There's still, a QA piece. And is it mechanical or not? All of those fun things. And then what actually, consequential damage. When I take the nail out of this shingle, what is going to be damaged? Well, it's going to be a flashing.
Mm-hmm.
The flashing is not damaged by hail, but the human being can say, look, I have to pull this out, that sort of thing. So the private equity people are really going into the home services space. So if you ever want to sell your business, it's going to be a little bit harder if you're all on paper and you don't have any of the tech stack. It's just from what I've, talking to a couple of the people that I've heard in the space. And then, just what is your time worth? I would love to go back to that. Like, you're not going to get those memories back. Time is not a renewable resource. Money is. You can always go sell more jobs, but you're not going to get your time back. And not to be negative or any of that, but it's just, being a little bit more forward thinking of what can your life look like. It's really freeing, actually.
I was hosting a virtual summit, and we had some customers from the industry on, and it was just talking about the sales tool piece, and it actually just ended up turning into this really amazing conversation around society, these expectations of us, our time, that glorification of busy, that working so hard, and I work, 60, 80, however many hours a week. And one of the people that we interviewed, he said exactly that. He said, this time is something you cannot get back. And so if I can implement both process and tools, I think there's a process piece that is you can learn. And I think understanding your business process is crucial to then know what you need to use to speed it up. Because you could hear, and I think we hear this too, there's all of these different tech options, and there can be a lot of urgency to find these solutions and like jump on it and jump on the next thing that the next person is doing. But really understanding my business goals. Is it insurance? Is it retail? Do I want to get into insurance? What is my current process? And what are those bottlenecks? And then what can I implement at those stages? Which we know the insurance claim to payout stage, it can be very long.
Yes.
Yeah, like months.
Well, unfortunately.
So can we speed it up? What can we do?
Yeah, unfortunately, in the past year and a half, I've been in the business for 12 years, so I've seen a trend in the past year and a half where they are just like delaying to no end. I used to say you can close close and get your depreciation released, in about 2 to 4 weeks, just close the job. Now it's like 6 to 8 weeks, and it's just the reality. I'm always going to be really honest with everybody who, what we're dealing with. There's lots of factors that play into that, but if you can prepare and have a process in place to go ebb and flow with these bumps and new challenges, we've got ITEL, we've got State Farm pricing, this warehouse pricing thing that's coming, you need to know what the next challenge is going to be, but just know that there's a solution there. There's a solution to every problem. Yeah. But the more that you, implement more technology and are just more organized, and going back to the communication piece, the more you're able to easily communicate with the adjuster, but also easily communicate with the homeowner, it benefits you. So you can make sure that the homeowner understands how the process works as well. And then you're their advocate and you're their hero, in dealing with it. It's just going to be a really beautiful relationship if you know how to get into it in the right way. So,
and I think that goes back to as well, if you understand your process, there is so much automation that you can do. And I'm speaking from the JobNimbus side of things, where you can have automated messages that go out, and there are people who have automated messages for their customer and for the adjuster. And so you're teeing up the 5-star review for the homeowner and also building a great relationship with the adjuster. And you are furthering that success and also reducing the busy work that is going into managing the project, in addition to utilizing something like what you do, and where you can reduce that insurance piece even more as well. You're looking at your lead to final payment process and just squishing it and shrinking it, and what you reclaim is time, or adding in more work bumps up the revenue. It's this like flywheel of revenue, which ultimately at the end of the day is what keeps businesses afloat. Okay, really, really granular. Thinking through, we've kind of talked about like convenience and the industry and what we've noticed and observed. What would be like very, very practical things, either in relation to what you can offer or just in general, that any listeners could go, okay, I could do that today. I could take this, and if there's one thing I do today, it's this.
I would say one of the biggest hurdles would be that you can remove for yourself would be photos, documentation. Whether you use Xactimate or not. The only reason to use Xactimate is on your insurance jobs because 85% of insurance companies, or thereabout, it ebbs and flows, right? Use this software to write their estimates. I wish I didn't have a job. I wish you could show up with, say, I'm the professional, I'm the restoration contractor of choice. This is what it costs, but that's not what it is, right? Yeah. So with Xactimate, that's why I advocate contractors use it, because you're talking apples with the insurance company, not your grapes are over here and they're trying to work off this system, right? So I do understand that it's a piece of software you have to learn. I'll be open and honest.
Yep.
So to make your life easier today, photos and documenting what actually have to happen. Like I talked about the shingle, you've got a nail through the shingle, through the flashing. Then you don't want to pay for the flashing. A simple photo of that will get all of your flashings paid in a lot of instances, on average. So it's just the simple little things that you can do to slow down, to speed up profits. Is photos. It's just documenting the job properly. It takes an extra 10 minutes. I advocate a simple checklist that the salesperson or whoever's going to take the job.
A checklist. Note that. A checklist. Because I think that's, honestly, it's just such a practical thing. And Company Cam has checklists too.
They do.
Built in. But there is having that documentation, having your process. JobNimbus has photos. There's actually a new, I think I can say this. It's a new photos experience. It's really beautiful. It's much easier to organize. And if it hasn't been launched today, it will be soon. And it was said out loud, so I'm not going to get in too much trouble. But the idea that you can, document, annotate, have all of that, and it's just so clear and can back up what you need for an insurance claim.
The beautiful thing about something like a checklist, it seems so simple. You don't have guys driving back out to the job 5 to 6 times, wasting all that time that could be door knocking and selling what they actually want to do. Yes. Checklists will help with all that kind of thing. And that's what really, like McDonald's, anywhere you go in the US, you're going to get the same fries, hamburger. It's going to taste the same because they have a system. And that's the stuff that's not like, it's like sexy. It's not.
But it's standardized.
But it's the boring work that if you get that tightened up, you're going to have a fun life because you're saving time, you're making more money, you can scale your business. That's all it comes down to.
And speaking of private equity, if you scale it, there you go, ready to go. Really quickly, I would love to know, are there any stories that come to mind? You've obviously worked with so many people helping them do this. Is there anyone that comes to mind that you're like, they did these things and what was their experience?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have Sarah and Jamie. They're in Illinois. I think they're, we're a one office company, maybe doing $3 to $5 million a year or so. Had probably 2 or 3 sales reps. They had 2 owners. And Sarah was the admin. Jamie was one of the owners. And so we worked with them in their systems and processes. And why I love talking about them, they simply did. They actually implemented what we teach. I love contractors. I love human beings in general, but it's hard to make a change sometimes just simply by saying, do this a little differently and you'll see success. Sometimes there's a little bit of resistance. It's just us. We are who we are. So with Jamie and Sarah, they took everything that we teach and just implemented it. And in Q1, they were able to supplement $600,000 from the insurance company that would have been sitting there. I want that to land for a second. That would still be in the insurance company's pockets due to them, but they just didn't know how to ask, follow up with the adjuster, like you said, have a system to do that. And they're not that big of a company. And they just blew us up. They're like, you guys are just killing it. You blew my mind. And it's because they just implemented slowly everything that we taught and then.
And I mean, $600,000. I mean, we obviously at JobNimbus, we have companies that range in annual revenue, but $600,000 is no small thing.
That replaces a sales rep.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's huge. So I love to hear. I love customer stories. I could go on and on and on, but I want to make sure that our listeners and viewers can know where to find you. Where can they find you? Because obviously success is to be found. And yeah, tell us more.
Sure, absolutely. You can find us on YouTube. It's Estimate Mastery, and I have over 180 YouTube videos. You can get a taste of like what the training looks like and get a lot of good information there. Also on Facebook, I have a lot of lives that I've done that you can watch back. And then if you're interested in finding out what we do, how our process works, and what we have to offer, just email us at info@estimatemastery.com, and we'll get you set up. And yeah, I would love to have a conversation with you.
Amazing. I know that like this is kind of short and sweet because we've got this limited time that you're here with us, but I just so appreciate this conversation because I think at the end of the day, I think both of us have a shared desire to help in whatever ways we can this industry, especially the people who are doing the really, really hard work and on the roofs and installing and doing these jobs that really don't have a reputation of convenience and or much glamour about it. It's, it's hard work. So I really appreciate you coming and joining. And yes, if you are interested in learning more, she laid it out for us here. If you enjoyed this content, please do like, comment, subscribe. There will be lots more to come of our Building Business podcast. Alena, thank you so much for coming. We loved having you, and stay tuned for more.